Let's take a quick look at multi-dimensional arrays. We already know that it is possible to store an array inside of another array. So let's explore that a little bit. I'll create a map of the solar system. Start out with the innermost planets, Mercury and Venus. And then we'll start a second array that has two strings, Earth and Mars. And then we can do another one, Jupiter and Saturn. And then the fourth one, of course, would be Uranus and Neptune. Okay, so you can look at this as rows and columns in a way, right? It's like a grid. The outer array holds 4 arrays, and each of those hold 2 strings. So how would we access the data? Let's start just by logging the entire second row. We know how to use bracket notation to do that. I'm going to store it in a variable called second row. Go to the map and say, get the element at index 1. So this is index 0, this one is index 1, and so on. So we should expect to see this entire array, Earth and Mars. And we have Earth and Mars. Let's log just the value Mars from that row. Now, we could certainly go to second row here, which is just a single array, and we could get the element at index 1, right? But if you want to be able to access it all the way from the greater map, we need something called double bracket notation. So let's say planet Mars and go to the solar system map. We know we need to go to index 1 to get to this entire array, so we'll go to index 1, and then we're going to go inside of that to index 1 to get to Mars. So I'll log planet Mars, and we should just see the string Mars. And we do. So what if you wanted to update something, like replacing one of these strings? We know that we can mutate arrays, so let's go ahead and change Mercury to all uppercase. I'll go to Solar System Map at index 0. And then, of course, the very first string in that is also at index 0. And we'll reassign it to Mercury. Now if I go and log, let's just log that first array. Solar System Map at index 0 so that we see the array that holds Mercury. We'll see Mercury and Venus, and Mercury has been changed. So now you see how it works with 2-dimensional arrays. What about 3 dimensions? Let's just split up the numbers 1 through 8 on different levels. Create this new variable. I'm going to have 2 arrays in here at index 0 and 1. Then inside of each of them, I'm going to have 2 more arrays. And then inside of that, this is where our 3rd dimension comes in. We're going to have the numbers as the individual elements for those arrays. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. So if we wanted to print the number 3, we need to use triple bracket notation and go from the outside in. So we'll start with cube. And if we want 3, that means, first of all, we need to go to this array, which is at index 0. And then inside of that, we have 2 arrays, and 3 is in the second one. So we need this array, which is at index 1. And then the third one is to get just that element inside of this array, which is, of course, at index 0. And we see the number 3. So again, you can nest arrays inside of arrays, And then those final arrays can hold other data types like strings and numbers. And you can use double or even triple bracket notation depending on how far you need to dig down inside of this nested data structure to get at the value you want. You always start on the outside and work your way down. I'm going to make a quick commit here. And then we'll take a look at the practice. I've given you some two-dimensional arrays and some three-dimensional arrays, and I want you to practice using double and triple bracket notation because this kind of nesting of data is very common in the real world. You're going to be working with a lot of data in the future, and knowing how to navigate it, how to identify where to access different things is really important. So make sure you get in some practice here so that you get a little bit more comfortable with it. That's all I've got. I will see you in the next one.